Hello! On this week's episode of Less Code, More Power, we have not one, but two people from the UK talking about why pro devs need to use the Power Platform. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to Less Code, More Power. I'm Donna, and my lovely co-host is...
Sarah. Hi, everyone. And we are so happy to have Clarissa on the show today. Clarissa, do you want to go ahead and just you introduce yourself, and then we're going to then tell the world how awesome you are and what you do and all the amazing things that we want to share with our audience today.
Excellent. Cheers. So yeah, my name's Clarissa Gillingham. I'm currently a business applications engineer at a company called Silversands, based in the UK. We've been working with, well, I say we, I've only been working there for a year, but they've been working with Microsoft Tech for over like 30 years to create solutions for a whole host of different clients. So over the course of the last year, I've literally gone from thinking that Office 365 was just Word, Excel, and PowerPoint to suddenly being, exposed to all of this amazing stuff in the Power Platform. So my specialty and the thing that I love more than anything is Canvas apps, but also delving into model-driven Power Apps portals, Power Automate, Power BI. Like I even did some Power Virtual Agents the other day. So it's totally just across the whole platform, bringing everything together. So
That is awesome. I feel very lucky because I actually got to meet Clarissa at Ignite London in January before this, the global this. And I was super surprised to learn 5 minutes ago that Sarah, who also has a British accent, does not actually know Clarissa. So this was shocking news to me. And I was, like, oh, you all know each other, you hang out on weekends, and I just met Clarissa. But I was so excited to meet you at Ignite. And I love hearing about your passion around tech education, all up. About how you don't believe that going to college or uni is the mandatory way to learn computer science. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I guess my route to getting into Power Apps and getting into software dev was a little bit wonky. And I think that largely it doesn't matter what background you come from, it's what talents you have, and those talents can be found in any different field. Mm-hmm. So for me, I really loved creative stuff, and I did a lot of art and things like that in my extracurricular time. And I was looking at what to do at university, and I was thinking, well, there's art that I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about music, about film, English literature got on the short list. And so I was looking at all these things and trying to decide what do I do, because choices are really, really hard. So I put together all of these things. I was like, well, what is the kind of common thing that makes things interesting to me? And I picked physics, which is kind of a little bit out there.
Yeah, all of us be like, physics. Not, yeah. That was a weird flex. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
But it was something that I was passionate about, and it was something that, well, I found it really interesting. And for me, it was something that I thought, well, I have to be at uni to learn this thing, this particular skill. I'd have to be at uni.
And there's no other way, sort of thing.
Yeah, all of these other things you can learn from home if you're passionate enough, and that's kind of that drive to learn something new and to always kind of push yourself into something challenging, because that was the other reason I picked physics, because apparently I'm a masochist and I was like, maths is hard, hey, let's do physics. But yeah, it kind of brings together, it allowed me to expand on that technical skill set, and then Power Apps also allows me to bring together my creative background and kind of jam the two together and create something kind of in this weird space where it's one person who's able to create the whole solution. And I think that that's kind of shown me that since every single part of my background, from my creative stuff to my technical stuff to even like working in a post office, has contributed to the skill set that I use every day, it doesn't matter where you come from, what background you have, right? This platform is there for you. And there are lots of people who are bringing something new and something that people from a traditional development background might not have, those kind of skill sets that these people are bringing, and that kind of intuitiveness and really exciting innovation that some people are bringing to the platform.
That's amazing.
That, right?
Me too.
Sarah, this is like Sarah's thing, which is it doesn't matter where you come from, the platform is here for you. And
I love it.
One of the reasons we do the show and we ask about the human, because we love hearing where you come from and we love hearing all of these diverse stories. You are the first physicist we've had on the show.
Just please don't ask me any questions about physics. Don't put me on the spot.
Let me just get my list out 1 second.
She's like, equals MC squared. Is that physics? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. See, you knew that one. Okay, so we hear you have something to show us. What you got?
I do. Yeah, I have a deck that I'll just bring up now.
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
This is amazing. I'm so excited. Like, one of the things that really resonates with what you just said as well is this whole like individualistic nature of the platform. Like, I definitely think that that's true in terms of some of the guests we've had on the show. Like, I think everyone has been unique. Like, every, from product group to then like community, I think everyone has brought something different to the show, especially in terms of like the stuff that they show us too, which is really cool.
What they bring to show us and the homework they assign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I might be adding to that unique kind of flair because I've got a Super Mario story to tell you.
Okay, this cool. We've never seen. All right, let's see this. Mm-hmm.
So we got obviously the topic of today is like the Power Platform in the development world and why it has a place, and we're going to talk about Mario.
This is cool.
I put way too much effort into the deck, honestly.
Never too much effort. There's never too much effort.
Wow.
So
that is amazing.
I thought it was really cute. I got really excited. So if we think back, take us back a couple of years. Well, more than a couple of years. This is before I was born. But so thinking about, everyone wants to make a Mario game because Mario is awesome. So 1985, Super Mario Bros. Releases, and this is the first time that we are acquainted with our famous Italian plumber. And in the late 1990s, a community started emerging of people who were doing things called ROM hacks, which is where you actually edit the read-only memory of the game to actually kind of like hack it to create your own game. And this kind of culminated with some really, really popular ROM hacks in like the 2007 to 2012 era. But that obviously it's a tough thing to get into. You're actually editing the actual memory that the game is using to run. Like, that's quite scary stuff.
And you're messing with your machine like no one's business.
Yeah.
Memory expert. Yeah.
So for the rest of us, it was really great that Nintendo released in 2015 Super Mario Maker, which is a game that's designed to making Mario levels accessible. And you can probably start to tell where I'm going with this. So this is Super Mario Maker. You have this drag and drop WYSIWYG editor where you can just add your different blocks and enemies, and you can just hit play, like no compilation or anything, just hit play to play your level, and you can play through your level and you can share it with the world. It's kind of, well, it's going to come up in a second. Anyone can make it, everyone can play it, and that is the message for Super Mario Maker. And you guys probably can tell where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
This is the perfect analogy for the Power Platform. So the whole point of the Power Platform is that you no longer have to have this high skill floor to get in. You no longer have to study programming for years before you can make stuff. It's intuitive and it's available for everyone. So you can see here, these are just a couple of the details about how ROM hacks were made. Obviously, you've got that high skill floor, and you're distributing things in a much more, well, it's down to you to distribute it, right? Nintendo aren't going to go, hey, that's awesome, you hacked our game, we're going to sell that. In fact, they're going to be quite anti that. Whereas with Mario Maker, you've got this accessibility in creating it, this in-editor experience, and you can just share your levels really easily. And you've got a lot more access to different tools and parts of the franchise. So obviously the pros to it is that it's quick and intuitive to build, and you can just get going from the moment you download the game. But of course, it isn't without its faults, right? So for ROM hacks, you can add in new sprites and mechanics and new power-ups and things, whereas in Mario Maker, you can only use what Nintendo have provided. Mm-hmm. And you might think that could be really limiting, but actually what we see is that the community takes those limitations and just goes nuts with them, right? And they completely push the boundaries of what you can do with those building blocks. So you can see in the top left corner here, we've got this is a choose your own, choose your own adventure level that someone's made, and they've tried to make the perspective of a 3D room, even though it's a 2D game. So they've got the 10 coin, which is larger than the little coin in the background and everything. That was a really cool level. We've got pinball, we've got puzzle levels, we've got levels where you can play as Koopas. Everyone is pushing the boundaries all the time, and I really strongly believe that a lot of that creativity comes out of the fact that you're limited.
This is amazing. I love this. Do you know one of the things that really kind of, I just sort of, sorry to interrupt, me and Dana are just oh my God. It's such a cool analogy, because what you're kind of doing is you're showing that there was this huge acknowledgement for the ROM kind of development piece, as in they kind of almost made the concept of Super Mario Maker, right? They kind of exactly. Nintendo was oh, that's actually kind of a good idea. We kind of feel bad that you have to hack our system to actually make this, but that's actually a pretty sweet idea. Why don't we actually just make a kind of platform for you? And this is actually a really cool concept, especially that community element. I definitely love how you pulled that out, the fact that was this huge community, kind of when people were doing this, and then the fact that then Nintendo have tried to leverage that with Super Mario Maker. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because it's the exact same thing with Power Platform, right? I mean, people were making things in Excel and VBA and, trying their hardest to make business applications using those. But Microsoft noticed that there was that need and that want and that desire to make those things, and then provided them with a better platform to do it. So yeah, this is where come in to the flip side, unfortunately, is less code, more power, not less Mario, more power. So
less Mario, more power.
So obviously, in the 90s, you've got people making custom apps in a huge variety of languages, things like C++. Obviously, there's, 1990s, you still got things like Fortran kicking around. My first programming language that I learned was actually at uni. I learned scientific programming in C. And they were like, this is a modern programming language. And I was like, no, it's not.
And then even me as a hardcore C++ person can tell you it's not modern. It's
I know.
Classic.
It's like, I do not for 1 second miss doing memory allocation myself.
And garbage collection. Don't forget garbage collection. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, of course, then 2000s, you start to get the rise of the .NET framework, and you start to get languages like C# coming in, and it's kind of a little bit more accessible again. And then 2013, Microsoft launches Project Sienna, which, as we all know, turns into Power Apps. And in 2016, we got Power Apps and Microsoft Flow, which, of course, now is Power Automate.
Yep.
So the platform today is not just those two things. You've obviously got Automate, you've got Power Apps, we've also got Power BI, Power Virtual Agents, you've got the Common Data Service fueling it all, you've got AI Builder. I always jam Microsoft Forms in as well as like
Microsoft Forms. I love that.
That's sweet. That's sweet. I like it.
And all of these tools can be combined to create an environment where it's so much easier to make what you want to make. So you no longer have to have this background knowledge of years of developing and years of experience and learning. And you no longer have to handle your own distribution, and you don't have to have that horrible moment where you write all your code and then you hit compile and you're just there hoping and keeping your fingers crossed, and then it comes up with like, you have 68 billion errors in your code. What are you doing with your life? So and the other thing is that traditional development often, of course, requires a team of specialists, because you'll have someone who focuses on UI development and someone who focuses on something else. Whereas with the Power Platform, it can kind of be done all by one person. So you can have that vision yourself and actually realize it just you, which I think is something that's really cool. As someone who is a bit control freaky over things, I find it very, very nice.
That's awesome. That's really, really good. I love that whole kind of like focus from, and it's not to say that, I know that there's the place for the large development teams. It's just the fact that that empowerment piece is the fact that, we want to empower more people and scale. And to be able to do that, we need to remove the barriers to entry. And I think that you really kind of encapsulated that story really well. I love how you've presented this, Clarissa.
Yeah. I love you've told it in a way where people who've never heard of Power Platform, don't know anything about tech, will get it.
Yeah.
Right.
So and that's the dream, right? Because we want people who don't know about tech, but they have the ideas, and they know about their business, because people can ask me as much as they want, oh, make me an app that will make my life easier, make my job easier. But they're the ones who know their job.
That's right.
At the end of the day. So obviously a lot of my time is spent getting to know what they're actually doing and what their problems are. But if you can, it's kind of like that whole give a man a fish and teach a man to fish thing, right? Yeah. So if you can give them the tools to do that themselves, then they're in the best place to provide themselves that solution.
That's right. I think it's wonderful.
So once again, we kind of come to the problem of like, isn't that limiting? Having only these building blocks that the controls that Microsoft have added to Power Platform, but actually what we see is that limitation, again, just as with Mario Maker, it breeds that creativity, where people are able to make some amazing, and for some reason my videos aren't working, which is really annoying. No, okay.
You don't have to play them, it's all good.
It's all good.
What you see is this community where people are making absolutely amazing things. People are making games that you would not believe are in Power Apps. We've got Tai Chi, who's making the Power Apps Orchestra. I think it's his life mission to make every single instrument on Power Apps. And this is really, like, even if you are just using the tools as kind of they're intended, rather than simulating these new different ways of using the controls, you can use all of these bits and pieces to put together a solution really quickly. This is a little diagram of a solution that me and a colleague made in a matter of like 3 or 4 days for like new starters to the Death Star application, to like
cool.
help people to see the art of the possible. And you can see here we've got Forms, Power Automate, AI Builder, CDS, Power Apps, Model Canvas and Portals, Virtual Agents, and Power BI. And it all, all of these different modules, like they make something that's, I mean, look at it, it looks quite complex, right? Yeah. But each of the individual modules are simple enough to do. You've got this modulistic way of developing where you can just take that small problem and go, okay, I can fix that small problem and I can fix this other small problem, and then you put it all together and you create something pretty amazing. So I guess for me, having had a tiny little bit of experience with traditional dev and having quite a bit of experience now with Power Platform, it all comes down to just choosing the right tool for the right task. I was actually talking to, and I'm going to butcher her surname, so I apologize. I was talking to Sarah Longakvist about this on Twitter. And we basically came up with the analogy of you can't cut cheese with a spatula, but you can't make an omelet with a cheese knife.
Yes.
And I guess technically, given enough time, you could use the cheese knife to like whittle down some wood into a spatula, and then you could make the omelet. And so I guess it kind of even works even better, right? Because if you think of traditional development as the cheese knife, then you can actually make the tool to be able to make the omelet. But why bother when you could just pick the spatula off the shelf and make the omelet straight away?
Yeah, it's not about citizen devs or pro devs. It's about, no matter which dev, choose the right tool for the right job.
Absolutely.
Right? For making a quick and dirty iOS app, there's no reason to go buy a MacBook and learn Swift. Right? Just make a Power App and it'll run on all of your devices, which is so great. I love that message.
Yeah. And I think that, even for, as you say, it's for pro devs to be able to recognize the importance of what Power Apps can give them. So even if they're using Power Platform just for prototyping or just for bashing out some rough proofs of concept, or in the case of, obviously we've seen Schlumberger and what they've done with rapid development for their COVID-19 response apps, like these are the perfect cases for using Power Platform over traditional development. And there are other cases where absolutely you should probably be using traditional dev rather than Power Platform. So now we get to Donna's favorite bit, the homework. My homework is largely aimed towards people who are pro devs, and it's kind of a challenge to pick something that you don't think Power Apps will be able to do, and then do it anyway. So there are so many things. Like I started to have an idea of, I wonder if I can make a game like Kirby Block Breaker or Block Ball, where you have the block sliding along the bottom and the ball bouncing around. Can I make that in Power Apps? I don't know if that's possible, and I just started making it. And basically, I want to see what everyone else can come up with, and see if we can really push the boundaries even further than the community already has.
That's
cool.
I
love it. That is a great homework. No one's assigned that one yet.
Nope. No, especially like being focused on pro devs. Yeah, you did. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much for just for sharing this. This is you kind of articulated this story just so nice and really like what Donna kind of framed earlier in the show. Anyone that does, you don't need to know anything about technology. You kind of really built a great narrative here. So this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. It's been amazing to be part of it.
All right. Bring back your lovely face so we can say goodbye to that.
So for everyone who's watching, Clarissa's details will all be in the description. You can go ahead and follow her on Twitter. Her LinkedIn profile will be there as well. So definitely go ahead and connect with Clarissa.
Yes, please.
Everyone connect with Clarissa. Everyone do your homework. This is specifically for you pro devs. You think it can't be done in Power Platform? Try it. And if it can't, let us know, because that means those are good additions for us to think about. All right. So that's all for us this week. Till next time, we're Donna
and Sarah.
And our special guest today, Clarissa. Till next time, less code,
more power.